Welcome back, Camden Catholic. So we're day one in Florence, right? And I figured I'd start off with something pretty easy and pretty cool. We're actually standing right now in the Palazzo del Vecchio, right? And this is actually one of the main squares in Florence. And it actually started construction in 1299 when the Florentine people believed that they needed a large ruling palace for the equestrians and the rulers of their government. So they started construction on this bad boy, right? Now, it wasn't finished up until about 1458, and it's built out of solid brick construction. Also, one of the coolest things, if you look behind me, actually we'll like kind of walk up closer to it here in a minute, but actually it was the original placement of Michelangelo's most famous sculpture, David. So it's actually originally placed outside of the Florence, out of the town hall itself. So, but everybody calls this the Florence Town Hall. And as you can see, it's very, very Gothic style architecture. Very, very tall. A lot of these stuff come into small points and everything. You see all the stained glass windows in the first row. And then also really neat things is that little things that were added, like the battlement on top. So the battlement on top is the castle-looking top. The castle-looking top was all actually added so that people could stand up there, and in case of an invasion, they could throw rocks or flaming liquid off the top of it as a form of defense. Now, one of the other really, really cool places about it is the square itself. Now, the square itself is absolutely huge, as you can see. And the really neat thing about it is where I'm standing right now, I'm going to upload a picture onto this, is actually one of the sites of a huge Inquisition trial and execution. A Franciscan monk by the name of Giovanni, it's hard to pronounce his last name, but I'll keep you updated. He was actually executed because he preached against the Renaissance, right? He preached against the Renaissance and said we need to come back to our old ways of Christianity and stop worrying about arts and things like that. And he started having all these prophecies and that he heard God and stuff. And one of the main things, the problems with this is that this kind of flew in the face of the Roman Catholic Church at the time because he's preaching extremism and conservatism. Now, one of the neat things about it, though, is actually when he was called back to the Pope asked him to be specific about what happened and what did you hear, and he said, I see a new Cyrus coming. And the new Cyrus, as in Cyrus the Great, the person who's going to come over and take over a huge swath of area in France, much like Cyrus the Great did in Persia, and actually right after he preached this, Charles VII of France tried to invade northern Italy, where Florence is. So it seemed really creepy that he might actually be right. And after they arrested it, the Inquisition arrested him. They put him on trial for heresy. And one of the coolest things about it is where I'm standing right now, in this very spot in the Palazzo del Vecchio, they actually burned him at the stake after he confessed under torture that he never heard the voice of God. So we'll never really know if he did or didn't hear it, right? So we're going to actually walk up a little bit closer now if we can, so you can see some of the other stuff that's here. A very, very, very huge fountain right there. As you can see, that's actually a statue right there of Cosimo, Cosimo the Duke, Cosimo the First Medici. Remember the Medici family that we talked about earlier on the first flip? They actually lived here when they took complete and utter control of the Florentine government. And it's one of their main strongholds. But then one of the coolest things about it, I'll show you real fast, and then we'll move on with the rest of our day, is actually the replica of David is actually still placed here. So the David that I'm actually going to be showing you later on today is actually in the Accademia del Florentia. Now, it's actually in the Academy of Arts in Florence. And so right here, that is the David replica. It's a full size and to scale model, and it's actually almost identical. But I'm going to be showing you the real deal, the real Michelangelo deal later on. And then also one of the other really neat things is this sculpture garden that exists next to the town hall in Florence. And a lot of these were actually commissioned by the Medici family themselves because they were huge patrons of the arts, right? Now, the neatest one, if you want to see one really, really cool, really up close, is this one right here. It's actually a bronze statue of a man holding the severed head of another guy. I gotta look up who it is and what it is, but it is very, very cool. So, but that's the first stop for today's journey through Florence. Like I said, this is the Palazzo del Vecchio, okay? It's one of the ruling centers of Florence. It's the Florentine town hall, built out of solid brick construction. Started construction in 1299. It's amazing. And also one of the sites of a main Inquisition trial, execution, and burning at the stake, right? So I'll show you some pictures. I'll update you again really quickly on what that guy's name is specifically, but it's a Franciscan monk by the name of Giovanni. And whew, absolutely amazing to see in real life. We'll see. Let's go look at some other stuff. Hey guys, so we just walked for about 20 minutes right down the street from our apartment, and the thing that I'm about to show you, I don't know if you're quite ready for. It's probably it's the most famous Renaissance sculpture completed by Michelangelo, one piece of solid marble. It's the David, right? Literally probably one of the most important pieces of artwork to ever grace history is standing directly behind me. Now, I'm a little ways away from it, and I'll take some up-close pictures of it simply because it's very rude to be really loud next to the work of art itself. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's breathtaking. But I'm literally standing with Michelangelo's David as we speak. So I'm going to get in a little bit closer, and I'll record some other stuff for y'all later, okay? And I'll show you some cool stuff on the video as well. All right, guys, so we're going to talk a little bit more about the David that I saw today. So some of the coolest things about it is the fact that, I don't know if you knew this, but it was actually an unwanted piece of marble that was left laying outside of the, excuse me, right outside of the Duomo, which I'll be showing you in a little while. Now, it was actually unwanted because the guy that had actually earlier been commissioned to begin construction on a marble sculpture of all the heroes from the Old Testament, he actually decided that he didn't want this piece of marble, so they put it outside because there was like a crack in it, or so he didn't like it, and then Michelangelo begged the Opera del Duomo to let him carve a sculpture of a hero out of it, and he actually took this 17-foot tall piece of marble and constructed the now David out of it. And so a couple of things, other things about it is, for example, his sling is over his right shoulder, or his left shoulder, because he is a lefty, he's a southpaw, and it's over his left shoulder, trying to show how much more dominant his intelligence was over the strength of Goliath. Another couple of things also is his right hand is actually disproportionate to his body. It's much, much too big, because in the Bible he was known as strong of hand. And like, honestly, it's just one of the best anatomically beautiful pieces of sculpting ever done, because everything from like his head down to his toes is just in such great detail. And the only other kind of fun fact I can tell you about is actually his left pinky toe was knocked off by a hammer one time because a guy was really upset and decided that he should try and break some of the statue. So from here, though, we're going to be heading to the Duomo, and there's a special surprise coming. Don't worry.
No one likes to hear Mr. Terry talk for too long, and I'm on vacation with him, so I thought I would give you wonderful children at Camden Catholic, young adults, a break. So here I am, Mrs. Terry, and I'm reporting in from Florence, and here we are. I'm standing right outside the Baptismal, also outside the Duomo. You can see that dome right there, and the cathedral? And a cathedral, not a basilica. I'll tell you why in a moment. And then also right behind us is that beautiful bell tower, which we just climbed 414 steps and saw a beautiful view of the city. And just so you know, this area is known for its mix of Gothic and Renaissance architecture, which is really unheard of, but it's also the most beautiful in the world, considered by architects and anyone around the world, and Mr. Terry. So that has some bearing, I suppose. You can see the front is entirely Gothic, and the back, where the dome is entirely Renaissance. And the reason why is because it was built by many different people, mostly two architects, over, I guess, almost what?
1300 to 1887.
Like five centuries, which is like, you don't even know procrastination. These guys are the worst. So Arnolfo is the Gothic architect who is responsible for this beautiful Gothic architecture here in the front. And in the back half is Brunelleschi. He finished the dome. Just so you know, when Arnolfo died, he died with all of his plans. That's why you should write everything down and save everything, because he didn't save anything. And then he died, and they're like, LOL jokes, we can't finish this. So this is really important for you to know, that it has both Gothic and Renaissance, because it spans over 5 centuries of being built, which is really, really cool. It is green and red. It looks pink, which I think is kind of nice, but it is green and red marble, and it's absolutely gorgeous on the inside. We couldn't show you. This entire situation here, both structures, the baptismal, right? baptismal and the cathedral and the Duomo weren't finished until 1897. So we're talking 19th century. That's a really long time for these things to be around, since the 13th century. So here we are, just so you know, these are people dining al fresco. You don't get ice water here. So, oh, and that's the bell tower. Any other fun facts? Let me think. Everything here is overpriced. Everything. So we're gonna go hang out in a really, oh, come on, just get in there. We're gonna go hang out in a really cool area where we live, and things are much cheaper. It's not as touristy. Go home, Mr. Terry. Everything's really awesome though. So I hope that you get here, come here on a school trip, and hopefully it's with him. Maybe that's your thing, I don't know. Hi, Kiana, I miss you. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and Thanksgiving break, guys. Thanks for letting me teach you.
Miss you guys.
Bye.
All right, guys, so we just got done looking at the Duomo, right? We talked about the interior of it, the dome, the marble, the white marble, the green marble layout of the Renaissance / Gothic themes that are involved inside of both, right? Well, now where we are is we're actually standing outside of the Uffizi Art Gallery, right? It's Uffizi, right? Now, the Uffizi Art Gallery is actually home to some of the most prominent pieces of Renaissance artwork, including works by Botticelli, including works by Raphael, including some works by Michelangelo, right? Now, the amazing thing about this is, as you can see, just simply looking at the outside of the building itself, how can you see a return to Greek and Roman themes following the Middle Ages, a resurgence of these themes? Anybody? Anybody want to answer that question? These people probably think I'm really weird, but that's exactly right, Jameer. And I heard you too, Davion, right? The archways and the pillars, right? This is just a simple architectural styling, as well as you can see the statues inside of the the recessed, I don't remember what those things are called, but you can see the statues as well inside of the walls. Now, actually, if you look really closely, that's my main man, Da Vinci, right there. Donatello's all the way down there. Raphael and Michelangelo are probably around here too, but not the Ninja Turtles, the artist. So, we're gonna go ahead and head inside, and I'm gonna take some pictures of a lot of the various artworks and put the titles with them as well, simply because I don't really wanna take video or talk in there, because it's very, very rude to talk around artwork that is that priceless and deserves that much merit. So, let's go ahead and head inside, all right?